Hello and welcome to PAO Fans International Podcast. It's the American duo again, Antoni and Alex. Alex, how are you, man?
Good, Donnie. Nice to see you. It's been a couple weeks now, I think, because of international break. And I don't know, I don't remember if you were on the last one or if it was just me and Alki, but yeah, it's good to be back. We don't have a lot to talk about today, just the one game and some news, but yeah, I'm excited to break it down.
Yeah, man. Yeah, last time I think it was me. It was me and you, and we missed out on Alki. It looks like Alki's busy again, so it's us
It's
two.
been hard to get us three together this season. It's kind of only been two of us. I don't know if we've had all three at once this season yet, but
Yeah,
sooner or later.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't think we have. Yeah, the three A's: Alki, Antoni, and Alex. Look at that. We the three Americans, the three A's. We haven't been able to get all of us on here, but good thing is, as long as there's two out of the three, we're able to have the discussion. And like you said, we don't have too much on the agenda today. We're just kind of talking about with the football team. We've got PAOK versus Panathinaikos. That was this past Sunday, a couple days ago. Want
Oh,
to share some?
something before we get into PAOK, this just came to me. I do want to shout out the Ethniki because we had a really good showing over the international break, 2-2, two wins out of two games, 6 points, and we're actually top of that Nations League group, even above England because of goal difference. So that was like a really nice break. I'm always excited for Panathinaikos to come back, but that was a really nice break because it all went so well. And it's a fresh start with Jovanovic, our beloved Jovanovic. He's still in our lives, thankfully. And also shout out to Foti because he was the main man of those two games. Protagonistis.
Yeah,
3 goals in 2 games. I mean, he was. There were a couple other good players. I think Jolis really played well in the second game. Um, but yeah, he was definitely the main man. And also, I want to point out that his goals, those 3 goals that he scored, were kind of like very diverse in the variety of chances. Like the first one was a very typical Foti hustle, pressing the goalie, forcing him to make a mistake, and then taking it into the net. The second one was a header, and then the third one was just a beautiful long shot from top of the box, even with his left foot, his weak foot. So I mean, he's spoiling us right now.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
sorry for the tangent, but that just came to me.
No, that's right. Yeah, shout out to the Ethniki, shout out to Jovanovic, shout out to Foti. I mean, you really summed it up right there. It's nice to see the Ethniki finally performing. There were some head scratchers about the selections there, some of the players that were called up, but hey, we got the results. We saw Foti again at that goal. I mean, even like non-Greek football pages were posting Foti's goal, that one with the
Yeah,
left foot outside the bin. I
I
mean,
mean,
outside the top bin. It was just incredible, man.
yeah,
Incredible stuff.
it was 10 out of 10 stuff from him and the Ethniki in general. Very satisfied.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and so, again, that was kind of like that international break that was really eventful in terms of that for the Ethniki. For club, we finally kind of got back to it. We had been discussing over the break as well, like kind of how the team had been playing up to that point, and if the international break had done them good. We went into Tuba. We played there, a very hostile environment as usual. Against the defending champions, Panathinaikos was able to come out with a 0-0, a 0-0 draw. Alex, I've seen some discussion. Some people are saying that this is a good thing. Some people are saying, no, this is a negative thing. I didn't see your opinion in the chat. What's your thought about this?
So I think like going into the game, there was kind of two parts of this game that we were looking for. It was the result, obviously, because there's the obvious context of the fact that we've fallen already behind the league. So there was the concern about the result, and people were very adamant that we needed to win, certain people. And then there was also the talk about what the performance would be like. And then kind of combine those two, and that gives you like the big picture of what we wanted or needed to see from this game. So I'll start with the result first. The result itself, apart from the league context, is a good result. Like, I think most of the time, if you go away and you're playing one of the top 4 teams and you get a draw, you're gonna be happy most of the time. I'm not saying you shouldn't have the goal to win because you're also a good team yourself and you're also in the top four. But these are hard games at the end of the day. And this one is probably one of the hardest in general because it's away at the defending champions. So I think, again, apart from the context, I think a draw is good. I'm personally satisfied with a draw just because of what it is going away to the defending champions. Now, given the context that we've already fallen behind the league, yes, of course, a win would have felt better. But again, it's only 5 points. I think people are greatly blowing out of proportion like how far behind we are. Like, yeah, it's early, it's 5 points, but the good part is that it's early, I think, and it's 5 points rather than there's 3 games left in the season and it's 5 points. So for me, I'm not stressing too much. The performance, on the other hand, the other part of it is where kind of more, in a way, important for me because that kind of dictates what we're going to see down the road also. And not just like away to PAOK, but also home to Panathinaikos, which is next. And then we have AEK, and then we have Olympiacos, and then we have Europe starting. So the performance is kind of where I put a little more emphasis because, like, if I don't see a good performance away at PAOK, even if we win, let's say, because for example against Lens, second leg, the performance wasn't fantastic. We got the job done, and the result was there, which was the most important thing at that point. But the performance was concerning. So again, this is very wordy right now. I'm sorry, I apologize for that, but the performance was what I was looking for more, and it wasn't fantastic. I think it was better in many ways. I think he did make some changes tactically. He set up a little more defensively. A lot of the times it was a kind of a back five with Arau dropping back, even with Ingeson and Jedvine. So you could, even on the pitch, you could see back five, back five, back five more than we've seen in the recent games where Arau was pushing up very much. And, especially in couple of those screenshots that I brought up the last time we were on, he was the most advanced man on the pitch. You didn't see that against PAOK. So I think that was purposeful. He went from being the most advanced man on the pitch sometimes against Lons to the most back along with your center backs. And I don't think that's by chance. That was purposeful. So yes, I think there was a tactical emphasis on the being defensively more sound this time around. And in a way, and I'll ask you this question so I don't keep rambling on, do you think we went there, and by we, I mean the team and especially Alonso, went there to not lose? And you could answer that question. You could also give your own thoughts because I just talked for a long time.
No, I mean, you gave an excellent breakdown and analysis, honestly. Like, you said a lot of what I was thinking as well. To answer your question, I think, I think the idea was to go into PAOK and not lose. I mean, it makes the most logical sense. If we saw some of the performances against some of the lower ranked sides in the league so far, we saw that we struggled and they were really killing us on the counter. PAOK, a much more talented team, the reigning champions. If we played our game that we played against those other two sides in PAOK, in Thessaloniki, I mean, we were going to eat it bad. So I think the idea was definitely, go in there, try and maybe steal a win, but probably play for a draw. Don't lose. To kind of like bring it back a little bit as well, I think I'm satisfied with the draw as well. Like, to your point, what you were saying, like, I think going into it, a draw in Thessaloniki after the performances we've been seeing and some of the results we got, I mean, losing to Asteras, for example, getting a clean sheet against them. And of course, Drago had to pull off some heroics himself. It's still a positive. Some people brought up an argument that it looks positive because Olympiacos dropped points. Still, give or take, right? Our circumstances are circumstance, right? And the way the cards fell is that we're behind only 5 points. We remember that we dropped 10 points, or we lost in a 10 or 11 point lead like a season or two ago. So, So it's still.
And that was much later in the season, too. That was much later in the season. And that's why I put emphasis in the beginning, like 5 points is not great. You don't want to be 5 points behind. But the good part is that it's early. And that gives more time for you to figure your shit out and for the other teams to trip up. And look at what happened. Olympiacos, like you mentioned, drop points at home against someone that they shouldn't be dropping points against, just like we did. Okay, we did it 2-3 times to start the season, which is not ideal, but everyone's going to drop points. Like it happens every season, and it's going to
Yep.
come at unexpected times too. It's going to come against, who was it? Olympiacos against Panetolikos, right? It's going to come against unexpected opponents at home too. Same with us. We drop points at home. Like, okay, you don't want it to happen, but it's going to happen to everyone. And just like last season, I think it's very balanced. Like, there's no one team that's going to run away with it before Christmas. If someone runs away with it, it's going to be towards the end of the season, but I don't even see that happening. It's going to be very much like last season, and the 5 points will become 3, will become 5 again, will become 7, will become 5, will become 3. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's going to fluctuate, and you do got to chip away. I'm not saying you don't have to chip away. Of course, you have to chip away, but this is not one where, and this is going to sound weird what I'm going to say, and maybe some people are going to get mad, but this is not one that I had penciled in as you're going to chip away. If you could squeak out a win away at Tuba, fantastic. But this is not the one that you're going to be like, I'm going to close the gap in this game. You're going to close the gap on Sunday against Panathinaikos at home, where you should be getting the 3 points. That's where you close the gap. And then whatever derby win you get, and especially away, hey, that's a bonus. But I don't know. I don't want to say I don't want to sound like I don't want to go to Tuba and win, because of course I do, but it's still a very hard fixture. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. And I feel like everyone, and I don't want to put words into people's mouths, but I feel like a lot of people who are shouting for a win before this game came are not really considering the difficulty of the fixture in itself. Yes, a win helps us close the gap, but this is still one of the hardest fixtures that you're going to have all season in the league.
Yeah. I agree. I think going into it, honestly, like my thought, I was, of course, I was trying to be more, optimistic, but my thought was, you know what, if we can get a draw, I think that'll kind of set us up well. I didn't really think we were going to go in there and get a win just based on the way that we've been playing. It wouldn't have fully surprised me though, because for whatever reason, Panathinaikos like somehow turns into like a clutch team against the big sides, but kind of like
And
going back. Oh, sorry, you want to say something?
no, sorry, you go.
Oh yeah, so going back a little bit as well, is just kind of thinking about it as well. Like, um, with the 5 point deficit, for example, I think people really got used to that era when Olympiacos was like winning the league by Christmas, and like once Olympiacos was on a roll and they were having however many point leads, that was it. The league was done. November, Christmas time, whatever, the league's done. But we've seen this is a lot different Greek league. Like ever since we've entered into the 2020s, I feel like it's been a lot more competitive. And we're definitely, to your point, we're going to start seeing our lead or our deficit kind of fluctuate. So maybe we're going to get it within, -3 next weekend, right? Or maybe we're going to go down -7, whatever it's going to be. We've seen that PAOK can take points off Olympiacos. We've seen Olympiacos can take points off PAOK. We can do the same thing. So all these teams are stronger, much stronger than what we saw in years past. Plus, some of these lower sides as well are a pain to play because they've kind of figured out, the formula on how to get their wins, how to get some points off these other teams. So it's a lot different. Greek league is a lot more fun to watch now than it was in like 2014, 2013, whatever it was, when you just knew who was going to win by Christmas time. So -5, again, not the end of the world. I actually had to see it in the chat that it was -5. I was thinking we were worse than that. So when I saw -5, I'm like, hey, this isn't that bad. Getting that drawn, hey, I'll take it, man. We didn't lose, we didn't concede. And let's try to build from here. I agree with you. The performances sometimes aren't always the best, and that's kind of my question mark a little bit there.
But going back to what, let's talk a little bit about the performance, because like we said, I think, if you disagree, let me know. But I do think he lined up pretty defensively, which I think was the right move. Did he go there to perhaps not lose? I think that's very possible. Am I upset about that? Not really, because you have to consider what PAOK's strengths are, and it's no secret at this point because they've been playing the same style of football for 2 years now almost. And it's very counterattack based. They're quick on the counter. They're lethal on the counter, especially at this level. And we've seen that that's kind of where we've gotten hurt against even better teams in Europe, especially. So I do think Alonso recognized that, and I do think he kind of made sure that that didn't happen. They still had their chances on the counter, and Dragowski saved their ass a couple of times. But at the same time, I do think he did, I don't want to say everything he could, but he did seem to acknowledge that, yes, this is how they play. I'm going to do what I can to prevent that. And that means kind of changing the style because we didn't see as much of what he's comfortable with or his go to tactics, which is that high press, all this stuff that we've talked about so much over the past month or so. We didn't see that much on Sunday, which I'm not upset about because we've complained about it recently. We've identified it as a reason that we're getting hurt recently, especially against lower teams like Galicia, who put 25 shots on us. So I don't think it was perfect, but I do think that he recognized some things, and I think he made some choices that reflected that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you did bring that up because for me, the biggest red flag that I was starting to get with Alonso is that he was going to be one of those coaches that's very stubborn and they don't change or they don't acclimate to their opponent. I was getting really worried that he was going to just stick with playing that high press style. So I'm not upset either that he went and he played a little bit more defensive. I mean, there was times where I was thinking to myself, like, man, in some of the previous games that we played, just bring it back down a little bit, right? Play a little bit of a lower block, just try to get them on a counter attack and try not to play this insane style that's not working right now against this opponent. So against PAOK, it's a positive that we did get to see him, adjust his style a little bit. I think that's a more positive trend. Now, if we stuck by it, I mean, it's anybody's guess what would have happened, but I kind of have an idea. But we probably would have lost, if I'm being honest. So it's good to see that he made that change. Um, you know, is it something that we want to see all the time? No, of course, right? We don't always want to play defensive, but there's times when you're going to face teams that you kind of need to play that because you need to rely on your strengths because they're going to rely on theirs. And maybe our strengths aren't as good as theirs, right? So they've got good wingers. Maybe our defenders aren't as good. Maybe we can't track in the midfield as much as they can. So it's a game. It's a chess game. That's what this sport's all about.
100%. I think you kind of are nailing it because that's kind of what we were getting upset with over the past month and a half or whatever, is that he was just running out the same tactics every single game. And it was like, okay, this is what you're comfortable with. We see that. It's obvious, but going to work against every opponent. Like Swans, it probably should have been different. It really didn't work in the first match, and he kind of did the same thing in the second match. And you're going to say, okay, he got the job done, but barely, kind of. Like the 2-0 was flattering for us because they should have definitely had a goal in that one. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about that. Just my point is that we were just seeing it over and over and over again, the same tactics, the Alonso ball, what he's comfortable with, his go-to, and lack of willing to change the tactics based on what your opponent is. What are their strengths? Okay, this is their strength. Okay, this is what I got to do then. And it might not be what the usual is. So I don't want to say like I'm completely worry free going forward. I think was a step in the right direction. It showed me at least that he is willing to change, even if it's, I'm not saying he made some ridiculous tactical changes, but it was different. It was definitely different than what the usual is. So the reason my worry has subsided a little bit is that he's showed that he's willing to change. He can do something else, can get a result. Again, no one's going to throw their arms up about a 0-0, but all things considered, I'm not dissatisfied.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw this. I forgot to present this to you before. Well, I saw this post, and I think Leoforos talked about it with Papadimitriou. I don't know if you saw it was the thing I sent in there. Papadimitriou was going up to Alonso and like whispering in his ear, and then I guess like a substitution happened. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, we saw the switch of tactics against PAOK. We've been seeing this like murmura a little bit from the fan base and kind of talking about it. What do you think? Do you think there's anything to that?
So I saw it, and correct me if I'm wrong. Like the implication, like what people are saying is that Alonso's not making the calls himself. He's getting whispers from Papadimitriou, and it kind of shows just weakness and bad coaching from Alonso. Is that kind of what people are implying?
I think I think that's part of it. I think they're implying that Papadimitriou is like the head, is the actual like head of the team, and that Alonso's like the puppet, essentially. That's the vibe I
Listen,
get.
listen. I saw the video. I didn't pay it much mind because I was like, "This is." My raw reaction was like, "This is bullshit." Like
Yeah.
you guys are just looking too far into it, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading it wrongly, but it's a team, and I don't mean the 11 players on the field. The coaching team is also a team. So yes, Papadzim has a bad rap. He's become a meme. I yes, I got nothing else to say about that. But at the end of the day, Alonso's got his helpers. It's Alonso. It's his assistants. It is Papadzim. Like he's on the bench. He's on the bench for a reason, and we've made jokes that he's the cheerleader. Serge has made many jokes about that, but it's still a coaching team, and that means everybody who's involved gets to say something. And I don't know. I don't. For me, I don't really care about that. Like,
Yeah.
I think Alonso is. I don't want to say good or bad. Like, I don't want to just label it like that. But this guy's a real coach. So, are we going to turn now and say like he's not a real coach or he's not a strong enough coach because he's getting whispers from Papadzim in his ear? Come on. Like, I don't buy that. This
Yeah.
guy got hired. This guy got hired by Sevilla. Yeah,
Yeah.
regardless of if his tenure there was not good and he only lasted 10 games or whatnot, he got hired by a top La Liga club, a club that wins Europa League every other season. So, are you going to turn now and start telling me that not you, but the royal you that this guy like can't do his coaching job because he's getting whispers from what theoretically is one of his assistants? Because that at the end of the day is what Papadimitriou is. Now, do
Yeah.
you want to debate who's calling the shots and whatnot? Do we even really know? Is that even a worthwhile conversation? There's been rumors about how the transfers happen, who green lights what transfers, who finds the players, this and that. Obviously, we've talked to a great extent about that. I don't want to talk out of my ass because I truly don't know. You know, this is a conversation that goes back to the Tareem days, the Yova days. Who's bringing in the players? Who's picking them? Is there a clash between the TD, the technical director, and the coach? It seems like sometimes there has been. Um, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to sum it up again by saying like Alonso's a real coach. He doesn't need Papadzim to whisper in his ear, but Papadzim can do that. It's not like
Yeah.
he has to sit there and close his mouth. And, you know, I don't know how much he knows about the sport and tactics about the sport. It seems like not much, but he's still employed by the team. So as long as he's employed by the team, he's going to be able to have a say. If that's a problem, then you just sack him, which of course we've said also many times, and we have our own problems with him. But as long as he's there, he's going to be able to have his say, whether it's a stupid say or not.
Yeah.
So I don't. I think again, I've rambled again, but for me, that's reading too much into it. Alonso's a real coach. I think he knows what he's doing. It's different if what he's doing is not working. But you can't say he doesn't know what he's doing. He's a real coach. He's gotten a top gig before in Europe, regardless if it worked or not. But still, a top team entrusted him with the coaching job, and that doesn't happen if you're just
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think it's nobody makes better conspiracy theories than Ediness. I mean, I'm looking and the guy's like, because it's a video, he's like, "Ela, ela, quita, quita, quita," and he's just like recording it, and he's like zooming in, and you see Papadimitriou like whispering in Alonso's ear, and I'm just like, maybe he's telling him that, hey, look, so and so Arao is cramping, or Mladenovic looks like he's tired. I don't know. He just pay attention. Maybe he's saying that, but the implication that I was seeing that they're trying to say is that he influenced Alonso to make a substitution, and that Alonso was listening to him. And I just I personally, I'm gonna be honest. The thing that I don't like that Papadimitriou is always on the bench. Like, I just don't like it. I feel like Papadimitriou's like presence is something that we haven't seen with other technical directors, and it's a little bit frustrating because I feel like in the past we've had a little more qualified technical directors, and they didn't take the role that we've seen Papadimitriou take, which I just don't like, honestly.
I
Um,
also don't like him being on the bench, and that's what I would focus on more rather than kind of where we started this conversation is that he shouldn't be on the bench because at the end of the day, he probably doesn't know much about tactics. It's debatable how much he even knows about transfers, really, but he definitely doesn't know much about tactics. So what is he actually doing on the bench? Like he shouldn't even be in a position where he should be whispering stuff to Alonso. But at the end of the day, it could be something as simple as like you said, like, oh, the guy picked up a knock. You should probably take him out. Because also look at Alonso's reaction. It was kind of like, it was kind of like,
yeah,
oh, like it wasn't like, oh, like it wasn't, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
a good
you gotta look
idea.
at, yeah, it wasn't like, oh, you just said something fucking brilliant. Like,
Yeah,
no, I mean, I do agree though. He probably should not be on the bench, or at least as much as he has been on the bench. And if you take him off the bench, then you take out this whole, kind of scene that we're talking about.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because now that that's come out, I feel like that's just gonna be like people are gonna be looking for stuff now.
It's just going to be
Anything,
a scapegoat. It's just going to be a
yeah.
scapegoat.
It's exactly. I was thinking about that moment today, actually, and I'm glad you used that word. That was the exact word that popped into my mind. Where I'm like, look, every year, every season, there's a new scapegoat. For years, it was Alafusos. Okay, whether it's that's true or not, that's another discussion that we're not here for. Then it turns into the coaches. Now it's turned into Papadimitriou. Well, we're gonna get rid of Papadimitriou eventually, and then there's gonna be a new fall guy. So it's like every season, there's always something that we're looking for. And now with this coming out, I feel like we're gonna be constantly examining Papadimitriou on the bench, and we're gonna be seeing these videos to prove that he's the man behind the scenes.
He was on the bench with Tareem also, you
Yeah,
know. And listen, this is a big bias here because this stuff could have been happening to Tareem too. He could have been whispering in Tareem's ear. You don't
yeah,
know. Just because the TV feed didn't show it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
yes, this was pictured, so everyone is picking it apart now. But this could have happened last game. It could have happened the game before. Could have happened 4 months ago. You just don't know. Like, so how much can you actually read into this? Like,
I don't know, dude. It's typical. This is why I say I feel like Panathinaikos fan base is probably like the most interesting in the fact that like there's always some like type of thing going on. Oh, I go on Twitter and I'm like, dude, come on, there's something's new. Like I wake up, it's the first thing I see. I'm like, come on. So
and listen, at the end of the day, I'm not a Papadimitriou sympathizer. I think
no.
he's been highly questionable for his tenure, but at least this summer, I don't want to say he did his job, but he's been doing it better.
Yeah,
And again, that goes back to your original question: who's finding the players, who's making the transfers, who's calling the shots? And I'm not talking about the whisper thing. I'm talking about his actual job, which is technical director finding players and stuff like that. You know, out of let's say we made 6 signings this year. I don't remember how many we actually made, but let's say we just made 6 for argument's sake. Is it all Papadimitriou? Is it all Alonso? Is it half and half? We know for sure that Palistri is Alonso. We know that for sure. So at least one transfer is handpicked by Alonso. What about the other ones? I'm gonna say that most of them are Alonso because look at where he's buying players from. Tete is
yeah,
Brazilian. He's clearly favoring South American talent, which he himself, in the first press conference that he did, said he knows that market well. Okay, Tete came from Galatasaray, but it's still a Brazilian player.
yeah,
I don't know if every transfer is Alonso, but it seemed to me that it's kind of a split, which I
yeah,
think is kind of healthy, in my opinion.
yeah.
You have a
For sure.
technical director who's finding players. Hopefully, he could do his job. You have a manager who wants specific players that fit his style that he knows, and kind of this is the best picture that we've seen, not only with the caliber of players that we've gotten, which is next to none in the past 10 years, but also with kind of the diversity of players. Alonso picks Palistri, in my opinion, Tete. Then you have other guys like maybe Unahi was uh Papadimitriou pick. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but to me it doesn't seem like it's all coming from one or all coming from the other. That's just not the impression I get right now.
Yeah, no, you can definitely see that Alonso has his like mix in the bowl here, like you mentioned, and I'm glad about it, and I know you're glad about it too, and a lot of us are glad about it because so many of us have been asking for South American players to be coming into the team because they're talented. And Panathinaikos historically, when we've had foreign players from South America, we've done a really really good job. So Tete, I agree. I think that was like a Papadimitriou and Alonso type of like thing they got going on there. Peistri, honestly, he's not gonna come without Alonso, in my opinion. I think that was all Alonso. Um,
100%.
I'm trying to think who else. Like, what's the other South American?
Ingeson, Unahi. Who's the other
Yeah,
South American? Was there another South American?
I'm trying to think. I think maybe it was just those two South Americans, right?
I also feel like there's another one that we're just blanking on right now.
Yeah, I'm like, because I think Ingeson was honestly a Papadimitriou.
I think Ingeson was a Papadimitriou, especially because Ingeson has played in the league.
Yeah.
So Papadimitriou would be much, much more familiar with him than Alonso would be. Um,
Hmm.
there's other questions because there was a bunch of rumors that were going around. Like, let's take the left back. I think the left back is a good position to talk about because the rumored left back for a long time, up until the very end before we signed Max, was the word was that he's going to come from Spain or Portugal. That's where the market. That's what they were looking for, and that to
Right.
me is pure Alonso because obviously he's
Yeah.
coached in Spain, albeit for a short time. But that market, I believe that Alonso knows much better. And then out of nowhere, we sign a left back from Germany, which again, I don't want to say Alonso knows or doesn't know the German market, but it's just a very stark contrast from Portugal or Spain market to German market. So that could be a good example because did it go from it's going to be an Alonso pick to a Papadimitriou pick, which might have been Max Papadimitriou pick? I don't know. Again, speculation, but that drastic pivot from one market to another could show, you know, this was going in one direction, coach's pick, and it went into the other direction, TD pick.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, there's like something distinct about Dimitriou's like choices. I feel like he's got this like obsession with the Turkish league. He's really obsessed with like these European leagues and players that have like some sort of connection or history to have played in the Greek league or something similar as like the Turkish league, right? So those are the ones that you can kind of tell about Dimitriou. And then the other signings are more like, especially the attacking players that we were linked with, and the ones we ended up getting. I feel like those were definitely like Alonso's picks, and even some of the midfield picks. Remember, there was that Brazilian guy that we talked about last time from MLS, which
So that's clearly an Alonso. Yeah, that's clearly an
that's
Alonso.
Alonso. History with
Yeah.
the MLS. He's played, or he's Brazilian, right? And we ended up going with Unahi, which I guess that was probably like a mix of Papadimitriou and Alonso. I feel like because he's
But the
from
thing
Morocco.
is like, similarly to what we said about the left back situation, Spain, Portugal market to German market, if we look at the center mid position where it was maybe MLS market to European market, and that could again point to Alonso pick pivoting to TD pick, Papadimitriou. But who's going to complain about Unahi? Like
Right.
that's the thing. Like even if it was a Papadimitriou pick, he's done his fucking job.
Yeah.
Like again, I'm not a Papadimitriou apologist, but let's assume for argument's sake that it did go like that. Alonso pick, pivot to TD pick. Are you going to complain that it was a pivot to a better player, basically? Because what was his name? Evander, I think, was the MLS guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually was I kind of I like that potential. I
Me
think
too.
I think he. I don't watch MLS at all, really, but from the little research I did, I thought he was a good pick. But you're not going to complain from going to Evander from Evander to Anahi. You're not going to do that. So That's why I feel like the impression that I get is kind of like a, you know, I don't want to say 50-50 split between who's making the transfer calls, but I do think it's kind of like a joint effort.
Yeah,
And I guess back to going way, way back now to your kind of when you brought up the question, the only hope is that there's no actual like headbutting, that it's actually like a fluid pivot. It's like, okay, it's not like I'm gonna pick this guy and you're not gonna pick this guy, like a competitiveness between them. That's
right.
where it becomes a problem. But if it's not like that, if it's not like that, it's healthy in my opinion, because that's what it should be. It should be multiple people picking players. And I'm just going to say this, that I do think that the coach should have a lot of say, because at the end of the day, it's his tactics, it's his formation, it's him who's, putting the players on the field and telling them what to do. So I don't want to say that, I don't want to just take everything away from Alonso, but then just you shouldn't have a technical director either. Like, that's why I think it's healthy to have both guys calling these shots, because if they're not, then why do you even have one of them there?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I think we've seen it in the past where we hire a coach and the technical director brings all the players. Doesn't really get the insight from the coach, right? Or, we'll see that the coach comes in and the coach wants these players and the technical director doesn't. So it's like the technical director is just there just for show. So in this case, it's good to see that it looks like we do have a mix. And it looks like we're not seeing the clash of heads, at least so far. And back to your point too, 100%. I gotta give Papadimitriou his credit as well. And I've even said it before. Yes, there's been criticisms of Alafusos and this and this and that, but he's also spent the money to bring the players in too. So I like to call it fair as it is. I'll give credit to Papadimitriou. I'm not an apologist either, but he has done his part for this season. Alafusos as well so far. He spent the money. He's brought these players in that I never would have thought. I mean, since 2009, he's probably the best assembled team of individuals, so it's like, hey man, I mean, I can complain, I can say these things when it's not going right, but when he's actually putting the tools together, I got to give him credit. And Papa Dimitri is doing his job, and so is Alafusos. And for now, we got to see if Alonso's going to be able to kind of mix this together and kind of see
Hey,
what we can do.
and to play devil's advocate, and I don't want to, I already said that I don't want to read too much into the video that you were referring to, but just to play devil's advocate, from the opposite side, you could say that them talking on the bench is actually a good thing, because they should have a relationship. Again,
Yeah,
Papadimitriou should not be giving tactical advice to Alonso. I do stand by that, but we also don't know if that was for sure the case. But they should have a relationship. It should mostly be not during the game, because again, Papadimitriou is not a tactician. But to me, just to play devil's advocate, I'm not saying I truly believe this, but the devil's advocate argument could be, hey, they have a good relationship, which is what they should do have, both professionally and in terms of their transfers and in terms of running the team. They're a team in themselves. Like I said before, they are the coaching team. Again, Alonso is definitely the coach, and Papadimitriou is definitely not the coach, but that is still a coaching team, as is Alonso's assistants, as is the upper management and stuff like that. So you could look at it in so many different ways. I'm not worried about it.
yeah, same. Yeah, same here. I think it is. It's not as bad as it's being made out to be. Basically, is what we're trying to get out here. Is
Let's
these
trend. Yeah, sorry.
no, sorry, yeah, it's just conspiracies. It's just conspiracies, and it's good to see that the coach and TD are having a relationship.
I was going to transition to kind of a similar conversation, because we started talking about Alonso and like what he is or is not doing, or who's calling the shots. I don't want to really talk much more about that, but I do want to talk about what this result on Sunday does for him, in the sense that there was a lot of talk and a lot of chatter and a lot of rumors about what the result meant for his future with the team, because he was treading on thin ice. And there was heavy speculation that if he left Tumba with a loss, that would be the end of him. I didn't mean to make it sound so so morbid. uh, but obviously he did not leave with a loss, which is good. And he still has his job on Tuesday. But how do you feel about it? And what do you see the kind of bigger picture being following, let's call it the aftermath of Sunday, even though it's not really much aftermath?
Yeah, I mean, we all saw it. We all keep up with Panathinaikos news, and we saw that there's a lot of rumblings of like, yeah, during the international break, if he doesn't get a win here, if he loses, he's done. And honestly, I mean, I could kind of see it. If we lost, I think he was done. I think the result itself keeps him safe, but for now, I think right now where he's at. I mean, I'm not Papadimitriou, I'm not Alafuzos. I don't know what they're thinking, but the vibe I'm getting is that they're going to take it game by game right now. The next 2-3 games. If he loses or he really slips up, he's done. That's the vibe that I'm getting, just based on history and how we've kind of done our business in the past. If he's, let's say we go on Papadimitriou and we just annihilate them, we win the next 3-4 games, he's safe. But he's still, I think, on thin ice. I think it's still kind of, maybe it's not thin ice, but the ice is not that thick. All right. So, he loses a game or two, I think he's done.
It's like it's like in FIFA where you have like you play career mode and you have the like the approval rating on the top left, and like it fluctuates with every game basically. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I see it, and I do agree with you in many ways that it is kind of game to game. It's like, okay, he let's say, for argument's sake, let's say he got the job done at Duba, which the job done is just not lose basically, because that would have probably been a sacking. So he got past Tuba, let's say. Now we go to Panathinaikos. What happens if he gets a draw against Panathinaikos? Is he sacked then? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that's going to be really bad because it's another home game. It is behind closed doors, but at the end of the day, it is another home game. And like I said earlier, that's where you have to start closing the gap. Those have to be guaranteed 3 points.
Yeah.
Away at Tumba doesn't have to be guaranteed 3 points. Home to Panathinaikos, fans are not has to be guaranteed 3 points. You've already dropped points home to Asteras, almost to Levaliakos, and away, quasi away, because it was Leoforos, to Kalithea. So if he doesn't get the 3 points in an almost guaranteed 3 point situation, if it was my call, I wouldn't sack him after Sunday.
Yeah.
Even though I do think it has to be 100% 3 points. My concern, and we've talked about this, and the Australians have talked about this, and the internet's talked about this. You don't want to start the manager carousel, because that just sets you back. Like, can you eventually get in a better place than you are now? Of course. And the counter argument once again is, you want to nip it in the bud before it gets worse. So if you're seeing that it's going to get worse, then sure, nip it in the bud. But you have Europe starting in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Away in, what is it, Serbia? Like, or Bosnia? I don't know. Where's Borac from? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. And Bosnia.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. 100%. Like,
you have to know that if you sack him, you are going to be in a better position basically tomorrow. And I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's the case. Even with the question marks that are surrounding him, I don't know if you sack him on Monday, let's say, following a hopefully not hopeful, you get what I'm saying, poor result on Sunday potentially. You sack him on Monday, are you going to be in a better position Tuesday and going into that next game on the weekend? I don't think you are.
Yeah, I've said this before too, Alex. I think last time we were on the pod, I've said in the chat too. If our performances are like, we're not seeing the performances improve, like, okay, let's say we get a draw against Panathinaikos, right? Yeah, okay, it's not the best. That should be an automatic 3 points, but we saw that the team is actually starting to really click in this system. okay, there's potential. But if we start losing and dropping points and we're still playing like how we did in August, or maybe even a little bit worse, that's where I'm kind of like, okay, damn, like maybe we do need to actually sack him. But the devil's advocate, the flip coin, which I also agree with you on, is the manager carousel. And we've seen it so many times. Okay, we sack Alonso. Who do we bring in? Whoever we're going to bring in, yes, these are very talented, very good individual players, but these are not the players that the coach had say in picking. And we've seen this happen so many times with Panathinaikos the last 10 years. I get fired, and let's say they bring you in as the coach. I brought in all these players. I love players from Spain. Well, guess what? Alex maybe likes players from Croatia. So he likes playing that style with that system. So Alex is stuck for 6 months or till the next window with these players. And these players maybe don't like Alex's style. Guess what's going to happen? He's going to get sacked too.
That's exactly what happened. Under Jova, we were Yugoslavia FC, and
Yeah.
now Sporar is on the out. Okay, he didn't end up leaving in this window, but Sporar is on the out. Verbic is on the out. The only one from Yugoslavia FC that actually has a spot in this team is Charon.
Yeah. And even he struggled.
And then same thing happened with Tarim. Tarim started bringing in his guys. He brought in Turks. Okay, like, and immediately that went to absolute shit. The first opportunity it had. So yeah, again, even Maximovic was brought in by Tarim, probably because it was under Tarim's time. Whether it was a Papadimitriou or Tarim signing, who knows? That's another conversation that like we were just having. But he was brought in under the Tarim era as a highly touted guy. He was basically going to be our starting 6 or 8, and he hasn't started any game basically. He did start on Sunday, but this is a guy who had 30 million value a couple of years ago.
Yeah, exactly. He's captain of Serbia. Like it's just I'm not a fan of it, Alex. I agree with you 100%, man. Where it's just like the manager carousel is what set us back for so many years, and it's just going to come down to us seeing like again, results are important, but we're going to need to see if the performances are picking up because we could get, let's say we get a 1-0 win against Panathinaikos, but we played terrible. Okay, hey, we got the result we needed. I'm not saying sack them if we win but play terrible, but it's still like, okay, man, like next game we need to start seeing some improvement. Okay, that's where we need to see the mix.
The thing that I kind of am struggling with is like right now where we are in the season, and it's not going to get better. There's no really good time to sack him because, all right, let's say you sack him after Panathinaikos, and I'm not advocating to sack him. I'm advocating to keep him around, give him more opportunity, just like we did Tarim. Tarim didn't hit the ground running either. Neither did Jova. None of these guys are hitting the ground running, which is completely natural when you take a new team. Okay, you're going to turn to me and say he's been here since July. Sure, but Tarim took a couple months to get going. And even in the end, he was dropping points in back-to-back games against people that he shouldn't have. So that was even after he got going. Anyway, that's then. This is now. What I wanted to say is that there's no really good time to sack him, even if you wanted to, because you sack him after Panathinaikos. Well, guess who the next game is? It's AEK away.
Yeah.
And then after that is the Europa Conference League opener, I'm pretty sure. I might be getting it slightly wrong. My point is that you're in the thick of it right now. And you sack that's why I put so much emphasis on you sack him today, you got to make sure you're at least better tomorrow, because then why are you sacking him? Because it's thick right now. You sack him Monday after Panathinaikos, in 6 days you have AEK away. And in 7 days after that, you have whatever. And in 7 days after that, you have Conference League opener. And in 7 days after that, you have Olympiacos. And then in 7 days after that, you have Chelsea. You get what I'm saying? Like,
it's tough. Yeah, it's we're in a pickle. I mean, the thing that I don't like, and I've said it so many times too as well, it's kind of like the problem with Greek football, and especially with Panathinaikos fans, and I understand it's been so many years, it's been over 10 years. There's no hypomoni. Like it's just like, honestly, with the squad that we have, very, very good players. The expectation, of course, is that you fight for the league title or you fight for a run in Europe, whatever it is. Fans are expecting it now. I remember the first 5 games of Jovanovic were bad. I mean, we had the opener against Califea, I think it was, with 4-1. That was a big win. But after that, I remember us struggling for 4 straight games. Thank God that worked out. I mean, we saw what happened. So with Alonso, I agree. There's really no good time to fire him. If we fire him, we're just going to be, and in all due respect to Vokolos, like, okay, cool. But it's like then fans are just going to complain about him too. Why didn't they bring in a Xenos from Spain? Why didn't they bring in this player or this coach from Germany? They're never going to be happy. There's always problems. There's always complaints.
I'm not against Vokolos. I think, yeah, again, this is all just speculation, but Vokolos has no European experience, So you're gonna sack Alonso 1 week before you play your first European game, and you're gonna bring Vokolos who has no European experience. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. I'll put a lot of money that if Alonso gets sacked, it's not gonna be Vokolos. There's been other names floating around, like Sarri's back in the mix.
Poyet.
Macria.
Maria del Tufelo. I'm like, no.
Macria. Poyet, no, absolutely not. Again, I'm gonna say no to most guys, if not everyone, because I don't see us being better the day after Alonso gets sacked. Again, just hypothetically, that's why I'm gonna say no to Sarri. He already rejected us once, and everyone who's level-headed says, "Hey, you rejected us. I don't want you now. I don't want you now." And that's the same thing here. Hey, he didn't want us in June. So why are we going to go crawling back to him?
No, yeah, exactly. It's like the thing is, okay, it's like, you know what? Let me see what they're going to spend. Let me see what they're going to build. Oh, you know what? Hey, nobody wanted me. Let me just kind of go back there. No, dude. Sadi, you had your chance. No, it's just not, it's just going to be a disaster in my opinion. Have some self-respect, which I agree. I don't think we're going to go for him. I just think that's the papers they ran out of stuff to talk about. Because I saw Sadi talking about it would be a dream to coach Boca Juniors. So go to Argentina and go and coach them. I don't think don't come to Panathinaikos. You had your chance in June. Que Pisoki, Macria. We don't need you at Panathinaikos now.
Yeah, no, and again, I wanted Sarri in June. I don't want him now. I don't want him now because he already rejected us once, and I'm not butthurt about it. But hey, we weren't your priority. I'm not gonna come crawling back to you. So
yeah,
I wanted him in June. He rejected us. Hey, that door's closed. That door's closed. And just like I said, I'm going to say no to most people because what are you going to do? Again, I'm just repeating, sack Alonso a week before your European opener. And in a week, your new coach is going to significant things and you're going to be in a better place than you were a couple days ago. I don't think so. There's been that other guy, the coach of Union in Germany. He's been linked, rumors, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I don't know much about him. Union has been good recently. But again, I'm gonna say no because you're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna be in a better spot. I just don't think so. I think there's a higher chance of Alonso figuring it out and adapting, which we've kind of already seen signs of. That's what we emphasize a lot about the PAO game. I think there's a higher chance of that rather than the new guy coming in and having an immediate impact and, having a successful European start.
Alex, if we fire Alonso, that's going to be what? We're going to have our 4th coach in less than 12 months. Because we went through Jovanovic, Terim, Alonso, then we're going to have another coach who we're probably going to fire after that too. So there's no continuity.
Five of you include Condis.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Condis was there. Which, oh my goodness, dude. But yeah, it's just no. I agree with you. I'm more so on the I'll sack Alonso if it gets to the point where we're just like getting obliterated and it's like clear that he's lost the locker room. Okay, but at this point, okay, we're -5. Let's hope to see some of these performances improve. If we're able to get some results in, good. But again, if it starts to get catastrophic and go down, then you make the move. But fans need to be patient. They need to calm down. It's just too much of this scapegoating. Because guess what? We fire Alonso. Then Papadimitriou is gonna have he's gonna be the next scapegoat. Then we're gonna fire Papadimitriou, and then it's gonna be the next guy. But it's been repeating since 2012, 2013. I mean, the
Yeah.
same stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think I don't want to set like an arbitrary date, like, hey, he's got until like the end of September or the end of October or mid-October. I don't want to do that because it's not easy because of what we said before, in the sense of, look at the fixtures. Like, okay, you have Panathinaikos this weekend, but then it's crazy, man. It's AEK, it's Borac, it's Olympiacos, it's someone in between.
Chelsea. We play Chelsea in
There's
October.
there's Chelsea. Like, so you're gonna say like end of October? Like, let's just say you set an arbitrary date, end of October. End of October includes Olympiacos, AEK, Chelsea, Borac. Like, so again, he has to get results in those games, but none of those are given games. Those are tough games. Away, your Conference League opener, home against Chelsea, Olympiacos, AEK. Like, none of these are easy games. Again, he has to get some results in those games. But just like I said about Tuba and PAOK away, it's not an easy game. So like you're gonna say like you have to get a win in this game. Okay, like Tareem wouldn't go to Tuba and get a certain win. Jova wouldn't go to Tuba and get a certain win. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a given for anyone, is what I'm saying. It's not a given for any coach. It's not a given for any team. So to put
Yeah.
that on his shoulders is unrealistic and not really fair, in my opinion. And I'm not apologizing Alonso, but it's just not a fair expectation, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, again, Chelsea, that's going to be a tough game. Of course, anybody
It's
would
gonna be a
imagine.
tough game, yeah. Yeah.
Olympiacos, they kind of have their thing going on. They've got a very good coach. That's going to be tough, man. And again, to your point as well, I mean, we saw Tareem really struggled against PAOK. That was his boogeyman. I mean, he got like one
Yeah.
win against. And it's like,
So what, you're gonna turn and say Alonso has to get it done away? Like, that's not
yeah,
fair.
in his
Because
first
that
month
wasn't
at charge, like,
Jova played at Tumba and he had a great record at Tumba. I don't know how many games, but it seemed like we were winning every game away against PAOK and we were losing every game home against PAOK.
yeah, we were struggling home a lot.
For like 2 years under Jova, that was the narrative. Win away at PAOK, lose at home against PAOK.
Yep. Yeah,
So
man.
none of these games are given. None of these games are given, both home and away. So to set such an expectation and such an ask from the coach, it's just not fair, in my opinion. It's just not. And I'm not apologizing him. I'm not apologizing, but you gotta be a little more realistic. Like, again,
So
yeah.
with that said, what do you think? What do you think against Panathinaikos? What do you think we do? I know you don't like to give predictions, but
I'm not gonna give a prediction. I'm not gonna give a prediction, but Panathinaikos in the opening game, I haven't watched much of them, but in the opening game of the season, they went to Tuba and lost 3-2. Did they get some help from the ref? Sure, there was a couple penalties in that. But hey, they still went to Tuba and lost 3-2. I think they're actually sitting bottom of the table right now, I think. So all that considered, it has to be 3 points, no matter what. It has to be 3 points. What do I want to see on the pitch? No, I really don't know because, part of me is like, okay, you don't want to go against like you played with PAOK because you can't really do that against Panathinaikos, especially at home. But we've also seen that we've gotten hurt by playing Alonso's typical ball, even against the small teams. Galicia 25 shots. Asteras lost at home. Levadiakos almost another drop points. So, like you said, and like is well known now, these small teams have become have raised their level, and I think they've just become very disciplined. And a lot of times they just play for a draw. They think they can get a draw if they just stay disciplined, keep their formation, follow their roles over 90 minutes. How do you work around that? Because let's say it goes to a low block situation, which again is something common that we see from these bottom half the table teams. Uh, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say because you don't want to overcommit like you did against, let's say, a couple guys. I don't want to pick out one of them, but you don't want to overcommit and then be susceptible on the counter because they got some good players. They got that Salazar guy they got who's like kind of their left winger, has started the season off very well. I want to mix. I want to mix. I guess this is what I'm getting at. I want a mix of what he did against PAOK and what his usual is. Kind of like not full on high press, high work rate all over the pitch. Not full on cautious with that. Cautious with that. And I think that is where you want to be against these teams. Because they I think Banserecos, even being bottom of the table, can hit you on the counter. I do like the Salazar guy. The good part is that I think they sacked their manager because they're bottom of the table. I think that happened today or yesterday. So that's the good part. So they're kind of all over the place. Even more reason you need to be getting 3 points. But yeah, I want this like cautious high press, let's say. I don't want Rao being on the front line. I don't want him being on the back line either. I do kind of just want him to be in that midfield workhorse kind of role. The midfield was better, I think, against PAOK, which is a positive sign because that was also kind of, that's not something we talked about today yet, but that's something we've talked about over the past games, kind of like the non-existent midfield, not really getting the most out of some players, certain players like Charon, Baca. But it was better Sunday. Maximovic, I think, was good. So maybe I want to see Maximovic back in there. Maybe around Maximovic and Baca, let's say. Unahi, if he's ready to start. But yeah, overall, just this kind of cautious press.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to see something down the middle, like you said. I don't want us to play too extreme, right? Because Alonso's style is a little extreme, in my opinion. It's a little, well, not maybe extreme is not the right word, but it's a little too much for what the Greek league is, and kind of some of the personnel we've got. I think you've got to play a little more conventional style football, right? You don't want to press completely up the pitch to where your midfield's going to get exposed, but you also don't want to sit back completely and just invite Panteriakos to just come in as well. You got to bring the game to them as well because I think we're playing at home. So play conventionally, play the right way. Hit them on a counter. You don't have to necessarily have your defensive mid play as a number 9. Strike with your press. It's just play conventional football.
Let them have the ball a little bit. Like they're not. If you got 10 players behind the ball and you just let them, again, I'm not saying sit back, but let them have the ball a little bit. And if you have 10 players behind the ball, you're not gonna get beat by them. They are bottom of the table for a reason. I do still think they have quality. They have a few good individual players. Salazar is one I picked out, but overall, with all 11 of them, 10 of them, if you put 10 behind, they're not gonna beat you. So you don't need and this is what you were getting at, I think. You don't need to overcommit, like you said. You don't need this insane high press because if you just let them, I'm not saying absorb a lot of pressure, but just let them come at you every now and then a little bit. They're not gonna beat you. So no reason to overcommit, no reason to run yourself into the ground.
I agree. Don't go too crazy. Just play the way you're supposed to play. Like you said, give them the ball a little bit, and then you can hit them on a counter. You can get them. You could find the spaces. When you're playing with too much high press, it's a dangerous game, right? You're playing Russian roulette a little bit with that. So,
when we have the ball, right? When we have the ball, because one thing that has really been kind of a bad side effect of this high press is that our players are out of position. But when we have the ball, and let's say we have the ball and it's not, after a high press situation where we want it from them, keep the formation is kind of what I want to see, because that's when you could be really effective going forward. When the players are where they need to be, where the midfielders are where they need to be, the 3 guys in the midfield are where they need to be, and then the wingers are where they need to be, and you could use all areas of the pitch, the wings, the middle of the field, connect to Foti up top. So keep the formation, which I think with a cautious press is going to be easier because we've seen with this insane extreme high press is where we have players getting caught out of position. Arau has been one of them, the other midfielders. So focus on keeping the position, let them have the ball. You don't have to overcommit. Keep your position on defense, which is going to translate to keeping your position going forward. Also, if players are not running all over the pitch trying to, win the ball crazily. And the attack will also come, against an opponent like this. I know we didn't score at the weekend, this past weekend, but against an opponent like this, if you keep your formation, let them have the ball sometimes, you'll be sound defensively. I think we could keep a clean sheet, and you'll score 2 goals. So there's my prediction, I guess.
There we go. Yeah, I think that's a solid prediction. Keep your shape, play the game, let them make mistakes, right? Because if you give them a little bit of possession, they're ultimately going to make a mistake. They're going to lose the ball in the midfield.
Yeah.
They'll back bringing it up. You never know. That's just kind of how the game's played. So, yeah, that's just all there is to it. I think, again, like back to what we really talked about at the beginning. Alonso's a smart guy. He's a coach. He's coached at Sevilla. He's coached at Uruguay. So he knows the game. He knows that sometimes it doesn't have to be, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? You could just play simple, play straightforward football, get a result against a side that, in a way, this is a gimme game, right? Go in there and trying to get that 3 points. There shouldn't be an excuse not to, and we'll see. And I agree. I think we can get a 2-0 win. We were able to keep a clean sheet against PAOK, a team with much better attackers than Panathinaikos. So yeah, I agree.
I thought you were going to say much better attackers than Panathinaikos, and I was like,
Oh,
don't
no,
agree with
no.
that.
No, actually, our squad, we've got the squad, man. I mean, we could, if everybody's on their game, I mean, we could put 3 past them. I mean, it's definitely possible. So overall, yeah, I think this game I'm looking forward to with a little bit of anticipation. Are you going to try to go to that game?
Behind closed doors.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
fans. That's terrible. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's probably going to be boring to watch too. I hate when there's no fans, but
it sucks. Whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, we're used to it. Awesome, man. So did you want to add any other things about FC before we move on to basketball?
Yeah, I mean, not really. I guess the only last thing we talk about, I don't think the Australians talked about it a couple weeks ago because the transfer window wasn't officially closed, but the transfer window has closed now. So, I just kind of wanted to generally, we did kind of talk about it. We both said that, we were really satisfied with the transfer that we did. Kind of my only complaint is the outgoings. I think the ingoings were fantastic. Pelistri, Tete, Unahi, just those 3 alone are fantastic. Then you throw in the fact that we actually re-signed Drago in this transfer window, which is going under the radar because, everyone knows that he was on loan, but, it happened early on and, whatever, it got caught up in all the other big name signings. But that happened in this transfer window. And right now, Drago might be our player of the season. He was huge in the qualifiers, European qualifiers. He was huge against PAOK. He had some big saves just in the first 15 minutes. PAOK was killing us in the first 15 minutes. And he had some big saves and, over the entire game too. I'm not going to go game by game, but, that's going super under the radar. He is getting his praises. I'm not saying he's not, rightfully so, but just because that happened early in the transfer window and it got overshadowed by the other ones. I just wanted to point that out. Yedvai was also re-signed in this transfer window, signed on a permanent deal. So overall, incomings were 10 out of 10 in my opinion. It doesn't get much better than this. You said yourself, this is probably the best squad we've had in the past 15 years since 2009-10. And I completely agree. So I can't say anything bad about the incomings. And the only complaint is really the outgoings. We should have, probably shed some more weight, but I don't think it's as simple as a lot of people think. You in most of these cases you have to find a buyer, right? Like rarely do players' contracts just get terminated. I think in some cases it would be beneficial because you're taking a hit financially regardless. If you're paying the wages of a player who's just warming the bench, or you pay a termination fee, you're taking a hit no matter what. So I think in some cases again, I don't know all the intricacies of football finances and team management, but I think in some cases it probably would have been beneficial to maybe terminate some contracts if possible, because it's not easy to find a buyer all the time. Like Verbic is one who we really struggled to find a buyer. The guy has 1 year left on his contract. Like, who's going to pay a transfer fee for Verbic, who has 1 year left on his contract? So theoretically, like, you get him next year for free transfer, and who's also not been playing at this level for us. And
Yeah.
when he plays, it's not anything special. So finding a buyer is not super easy, especially for the players that we do want to offload. So, I consciously say that I wish the outgoings were better, but I recognize myself that it's not as easy as, hey, I wish 10 players left instead of 2. I know it's not that easy.
Yeah, Alex, yeah, I think you really summarized that better than I could. Outgoings or incomings were A plus. Outgoings, again, there's so many moving parts and intricacies that, it would have been nice to see more outgoings, more of, some of these players being released. But, we take what we can get. And I'm just glad that the players we brought in are clear upgrades on a lot of the guys that we wanted out. So, yeah, I think that was a fantastic summary. I think it's time to get into a little bit of the basketball stuff. We can go from the football signings to the basketball signings. I don't remember if our Australian crew covered it, but we signed, Panathinaikos basketball team signed Osman Yertsevan. He's a Turkish center that used to play for the Utah Jazz. And the most notorious one, or the most famous one that happened this past couple of weeks that really kind of rocked the world of Panathinaikos was Cedi Osman, who signed from the San Antonio Spurs. That move really, really shocked me, the Cedi Osman, because it came out of nowhere. There was news, I remember maybe a few days before, that Cedi Osman was linked with Real Madrid. And even I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was in the supermarket line and I'm just like looking at the news and I'm like, wow, Cedi Osman's going to leave the NBA and he's going to go to Real Madrid. Like, Cedi Osman is not like a superstar player, but he's a really good role player for the NBA. And role players really help you to win championships in the United States. So signing Osman and essentially, like stealing him from Real Madrid was crazy. I think that was Dimitris Giannakopoulos's kind of answer to the Reds getting Evan Fournier. Osman is a player that we've been asking for, getting a three into the team and upgrading it. He really added that dimension to the team. And there was rumors too, and to Chris's credit, he called it, that Juancho was out and that Osman was coming in, but no, Juancho stayed too. So we've added depth. We've got Juancho's depth essentially, and we've added an NBA talent to a EuroLeague championship. And something that's super hype is, he comes out, he's like, we're going for number 8 back to back. So that got everybody hyped up. I mean, it was just crazy. And Yertsevan, again, that's the center that we signed. I think that flew under the radar a little bit with some of the fans, because I remember saying that Yertsevan I was super happy about because he's a stretch center, so he can hit threes, which Lesor doesn't shoot threes, Costa doesn't shoot threes, Balcerovsky didn't shoot threes. So we've added a guy that can hit three-point shots, and we'll get into it in a little bit with some of the preseason games, but that's a huge pickup. The guy can rebound, the guy can shoot. Again, he was an NBA level guy. He wasn't getting too many minutes, but good enough to play in the in-season tournament for the Utah Jazz.
He's basically an upgrade on Balcerovsky.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So you can't complain about that. You can't complain about that. You got Balcerovsky leaving, and you got an upgrade who brings other stuff to the table coming in, which that's a great move. I agree, because you spelt it out. Like, look at the 3 centers we got. None of these guys got this on the table. You add this guy, now you got not only depth, but you got diversity of skill set.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Because Balcerovsky, bless him, the guy came in, he did his job. But it was clear he just wasn't at the level. I think when we signed him, the team didn't really expect. I mean, maybe Ataman did, I don't know, but as fans and as development coaches and stuff, they didn't expect us to immediately win EuroLeague like that. So we're kind of like now we're at this elite level, and it's like we don't have time to develop Balcerovsky. Now Costa's kind of taking that third center role to where it's going to be Lasor starting. I think Yertsevan is eventually going to be the second guy just because of his skills. And then we've got Costa, who I think is super good for being that third option, essentially, because he can rebound and defend very well. He brings good energy to the team. So that's positive. Our small forwards are looking good. Our power forwards are looking good. And I don't remember if I even brought this up last time. I mean, we signed Lorenzo Brown over the summer for point guard. I mean, that in itself. So we have Kostas Lucas, Lorenzo Brown, we have Kendrick Nunn, and we have man, I'm drawing a blank.
Grant. Did you say Grant?
Yeah, Jerry and Grant. That's right. So we have
that's crazy, dude. That is crazy, man. That is crazy.
That's the best guard lineup that we have in Europe.
You're in a position where what? Sluka's going to be coming off the bench, which I'm not upset about because that was largely his role last season, and it worked like a charm for most of the season. So you're going to have Slukas coming off the bench, and who else would you put in to start alongside? I think Grant is a lock because of his defense.
Yeah, I would probably start it.
It's got to be Nunn and Grant, right?
I'd probably start Nunn and Grant, or honestly, I mean, I could even see him going with Lorenzo Brown and Nunn, because the thing is too, Brown's
a good defender, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 6'4", so he brings size. He can play make, and he can shoot the ball too. So it's like versus Nunn's our shooting guard. So Nunn's offense, and then Lorenzo has no problem being the playmaker. He even said a quote yesterday about learning from Lucas about that. So it's looking good. And off the bench, I mean, again, we've got Grant, so we could bring Grant in and spice it up a little bit.
That's just gross. That's just gross, man. That is gross. That is those are proper moves to go for number 8. You're the defending champion. You're the defending European champion. You have 4 starting guards, because those are 4 starting guards.
Oh yeah.
Those 4 guys are starting on most EuroLeague teams.
Oh yeah,
that's DPG. That's DPG saying, "This is business, man."
Oh yeah,
that is great. That is great to see as a fan. It's great to see. I don't want to stop this conversation because I love where it's going, but it's great to see it alongside everything else that's going on, because you're saying with your transfers that it's business. You got Awaka getting renovated. Everything is fantastic, man. Everything is fantastic. It's such a pleasure to see, and it's such a good feeling for the fans.
Dude, yeah, 100%. Yeah, we've got Awaka contracted. I think, what is it, to like 2099 or something like that? It's like
50 years. Yeah, 50 years. Or is it more than 50 years? I thought it was 50, but yeah.
I don't. Yeah, it might be 50 years. I know it's a long time. It's a long time. Yeah. We've got that NBA level court being built as we speak right now. I mean, we've added us just adding Lorenzo Brown was really big. And then adding Yertsevan, I was like, okay, this is pretty good. But now we've added Osman too. I mean, this is looking really, really good in terms of our squad construction. I mean,
yep.
We've got a legit, I'm not. It's clear. It's this going into the season. It's us and Olympiacos are the best teams, in my opinion. On paper, there is the 2 best teams going into this. Real Madrid kind of took a knock a little bit, and they've kind of fallen a little bit. They ended up eliminating Olympiacos, but the thing is, Fournier is a big deal. They added Sasha Vezenkov as well. So the 2 Greek teams are doing really good. And to go on a little bit of a tangent, the thing that's upsetting me that I saw is that EuroLeague wants to add, I think they've agreed to add a salary cap. Now,
salary cap. Yeah.
What annoys me is, okay, when Real Madrid and Barcelona were getting away with everything, signing Mirotic, signing Mario Hezonja, signing Sergio Yui, all these players, it was fine. But Panathinaikos, Olympiacos, now the Greek teams are doing good. They're signing all these players, and it's a problem. That's kind of upsetting. And it's like, I mean, at least for this season, we're good. And I think somebody mentioned in the comments as well, being Elites, they're gonna find loopholes around these, these uh, salary caps. So I'm pretty sure they will. There's some good ideas that I saw in the comments, but it's upsetting. It's so upsetting.
I'm not sure why they would do that. In theory, I understand why, because it's, part of all this that we're talking about, like teams overspending, super teams basically. Now we're seeing super teams happen, kind of something we didn't really see in EuroLeague up until now. But the reason I say I don't get why they want to do this is because they posted on their socials at the end of the season how good their kind of brand growth as EuroLeague has been, especially this past season, and all their numbers went up. Viewership, ticket sales, you name it. All the major, I could go and find the post now. You could go find it yourself. It was from, whenever the season ended, May, June. All the big numbers, all the numbers you want to go up went up. Yeah. And now they want to do something that is going to stagger that, because a salary cap would stagger this. I'm not saying that it's not going to still go up, but like, hey, you're making it less exciting if you're saying, hey, you can only spend this much money, this and that. So everything's going in the right direction from like an internal perspective for them. At least that's my reading of the situation. So why would they want to do something that potentially goes the other way? Not sure about that.
They're trying to be like the NBA. That's the vibe I'm getting, and some people said that as well. And the thing is, to what you just said as well, even ESPN announced that they're going to keep EuroLeague for this season coming up as well. It was a success. Like, people are getting into it. We're seeing some of these like names like Shabazz Napier, Cedi Osman. You're seeing Nikola Mirotic. You're seeing these guys that we knew from the NBA now heading over. Kendrick Nunn, like,
Ibaka.
And people are like, oh yeah, Ibaka. Like, you're seeing these names coming over. People know Real Madrid. People know Barcelona. They know Panathinaikos. They know these names. So they're like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty cool. I'm gonna watch this. Don't add this salary cap all of a sudden. It's just so frustrating. I don't like the idea at all, because at the end of the day, like look at all the business moves that DPG is making. It's generating all this revenue, and that's what's allowing the team to get all these players. So why punish the team? Because we've got a loyal fan base paying season tickets, going to the games, buying jerseys, watching the TV, paying for the subscription. That has to go somewhere, and it rewards the teams. The other teams that maybe don't have as big of a fan base, the way the EuroLeague works anyway is those lower teams get a 1-year contract to join the EuroLeague. Bigger teams like Panathinaikos, Real Madrid, Barca, they've got 10-year deals. So they stay in the EuroLeague. They have their license for a lot longer. They're basically a lock for life. Right. So it's like, don't bring in these teams then that are going to have the smaller fan bases. And if it's going to be a problem, they're going to complain. Look, maybe they should be playing in Champions Cup basketball then, if that's the problem. It's just, you got to compete some way. And especially with NCAA now paying players over here, a lot of the players are going to pick NCAA then if there's going to be these restrictions in EuroLeague. Because EuroLeague, you can pay. Osman came to Greece because he's getting paid more money here than he was in the NBA. An 18-year-old kid's going to probably pick the NCAA if there's a salary cap in Europe. So it's just. I went on a whole tangent. I went from like being excited about the signings to being pissed off about the salary cap, but it's just, it's just perfectly when Panathinaikos, Olympiacos, they're doing good, and it's not Barca and Real. I feel like now it's like, oh, we got to change it. But now we've got like 4 elite teams. I think that's good. The rest need to get it together. Let Bayern get it together. They got their soccer team together. Get their basketball team together. All these others need to figure it out. So it's Fenerbahce. They can figure it out. Their soccer team's got something decent. At least I don't really follow them too much, but their basketball team's pretty legendary. Figure that out too. So, I kind of Xelafros Ligo over here, but it's just crazy freaking.
And that was Antoni's TED talk.
That was my TED talk. Yeah, I hugged it there.
That was like me. That was like me last time when I was getting so red over the screenshots that I was pulling up and seeing the malakias that these guys were doing on the pitch. You're getting mad about the salary cap now, so we're taking turns.
Yeah. Oh man, I was just like, ooh, I need to let that steam off, man. So we kind of talked about the signings a little bit. We talked about that whole salary cap thing. Some of the preseason games, we ended up beating Bayern the team went to Cyprus. This year we didn't have the Pavlos Giannakopoulos tournament because I think
No, we
they're
do. It's on Saturday. It's on Saturday.
Oh, okay, so it's gonna be at that's where they're gonna play in that old stadium.
Kalimarmara, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so we are gonna have the Giannakopoulos tournament then. We played another tournament in Cyprus where we ended up beating it was Bayern Munich and
Maccabi, right?
and we played Maccabi. We ended up losing to
We
them
lost Maccabi
yesterday. Yeah, so Maccabi's a pain. Maccabi's a pain for us. I think Oded Katash, again, he used to be our coach a few years back. He used to be a player for Panathinaikos as well. He plays very hard-nosed basketball. I thought after they lost Lorenzo Brown to us, I thought that they were going to take a step down, but they actually turned it up. I wasn't able, unfortunately, to catch the game. But, I mean, again, 88 to, I think, 75 we lost. So beat us by 13, double digits. I'm not sure if Osman and everybody played. I know that Yertsevan played, and he had 22 and 7, I think. He had 22 points from his 3-point shooting. He had 7 rebounds. So he's I think already made a pretty good impact. Osman, again, I gotta see. I didn't really look at the box score to see if he got any minutes in, but he'll eventually come to. The thing I like about Osman is he's very athletic. He's a good defender. In my opinion, people are hyping up the Fournier signing. I think Osman is a better signing than Fournier because Fournier is very streaky, and Alki will say
hot take from Antoni.
Yeah, I'll say it full stop. I think Teddy Osman is better than Fournier. Fournier played for the Boston Celtics, my favorite NBA team. I was not a fan. He played for the New York Knicks. That's Kutz's team. I think Kutz will tell you too. Fournier for the NBA or for the EuroLeague, he'll be good, but he's streaky, and we saw it in the Olympics too. Osman, on the other hand, gives you more. He's a more well-rounded player. He's the defender. He can shoot the ball. He shot 40%. He shot 39.8% for the San Antonio Spurs from 3. Really good. And he played 75 games for them. So he was a regular player for the Spurs last year. That's going to be, I think that's a good signing for us there. Something that kind of happened there, and Alex and I were talking about it, and I woke up this morning, and it was one of the first things I saw because I follow Ataman on Instagram. He posted a story, and he mentioned that he doesn't like to involve. I think he said, "I don't like to involve politics and sports together." And for those that are listening that don't know, I guess the tournament was held in Cyprus, and there was some banner that was held up talking about the occupation situation going on in Cyprus. As you guys know, Ataman is Turkish, Teddy Osman is Turkish, Yertsevan is Turkish as well. So the two players didn't seem too phased about it. I didn't really see anything. They were seen hugging it out and having fun with everybody today. But Ataman kind of released a statement, and he was saying that, again, he's not happy with mixing sports and politics together. He's more so happy with the community that he's built, the love that he's built between the fans, our respect that we have for basketball, and he wants to keep it within sport, which I think is respectable. I understand. I agree as well. I think this is just my personal take as well. I think sports and politics shouldn't really mix. I want to watch Panathinaikos play basketball. I want to see them play other basketball teams, and I want to leave the politics out of it. I don't like to have the fighting and the problems. Ataman has clearly showed that he loves Panathinaikos. The fans love him as well. The players were hyped again about. I can go on and on about Osman and Yertsevan as well. We love the players, and I think that's what we need to do. Just keep it within sport. Alex, I've been talking so much. I want to get what's your opinion on this whole situation?
Yeah, just for those who are curious, the banner, the panneau said 50 χρόνια παράνομης κατοχής, κανείς δεν ξεχνά. So 50 years illegal occupation, no one forgets. And obviously that's referring to the Turkish occupation of Cyprus. which it was actually the anniversary of the 50th anniversary of sometime over the summer. I think it was in June or something.
Yeah.
Listen, we're Greek. Cyprus, Cypriots are our brothers. They have every right to say that. We're not going to condemn the banner. It's fully in their right, and I think, support it, in fact, of course. But I have to agree with what you said, Antoni, and what Ataman said too, is that, the banner can go up, and Ataman, you have to look at it from his perspective. He's Turkish.
Yeah.
He's also employed by Panathinaikos.
Yeah.
He's a figure in Turkey, and obviously he's a figure now in Greece.
Yes.
Those two do not go well together for obvious reasons, considering the climate between the two countries, which is inevitably political. But if you're him, what are you going to do? You're going to kind of say something like that. Let's keep it out of it, because he can't pick a side right now. Even if he wanted to, let's say, I don't think he wants to. I think he truly believes, like, hey, let's just not do this right now. It doesn't help anyone, kind of. But, he can't pick a side, because, hey, he sides with Turkey, then his employer and the Greek fans and everyone in Greece is going to be like, what the hell, man? And he does the opposite. He sides with Greece and be like, yeah, it is 50 years illegal occupation, actually. He's going to get fucking shot in Turkey. So, So he doesn't have an option, really. So I sympathize with him, and I fully agree in general. I don't think we need to involve politics, although I do think the banner has every right to go up. But again, from his perspective, it's a difficult one. And if I were him too, I'd also just, I said this to you before we got on. He's just playing Switzerland, right? He's picking the neutral ground. I can't upset the Turks. I can't upset the Greeks. So I'm just gonna keep it quiet. And I would probably do the same if I were him. So this is blowing up too, kind of like funnily enough, it's kind of like the similar conversation that we had with the Papadimitriou and Alonso bullshit. But some people are getting mad that, like, he kind of shoved it to the side, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you expect him to do, honestly. I don't know what you expect him to do. Put yourself in his shoes. What do you do? You say it's 50 years of legal occupation. That's not going to go down well. You say, no, it's actually not an illegal occupation. It's a very, very rightful, lawful occupation. That's not going to go down well with another crowd. So what do you do if you're him?
Yeah, you're stuck. And I agree, Alex. I 100% agree. Like, I also agree. I think the banner, I think it's fine to have the banner up, right? They're in Cyprus, right? And as Greeks, we obviously have our beliefs about the situation. And if I'm Ataman, it is awkward. I mean, I think of the situation with Slukas. When Slukas was playing for Fenerbahce, Slukas is obviously Greek, and they had Fenerbahce had it was a Ataturk like banner. There's a famous picture of Slukas like refusing to hold the banner, like he's just kind of standing back, not holding it. So that pissed off the Turks, obviously the Fenerbahce fans. So fans got pissed, but it's also, you got to understand, I've seen some of them as well say what you've been saying as well, when I've been saying, you got to look at it from Slukas's position. Slukas holds that Ataturk thing. It's just not good. It's gonna cause a lot of problems. It's gonna cause a lot of issues. You're gonna piss off one crowd, even go against your own beliefs, or you're gonna piss off another crowd. So it's a no-win. Same with this situation here with Ataman and the banner, because again, his employer is Greek. And a lot of fans were talking about that. I've seen fans kind of worrying, like, what if this derails the season? Listen, Ataman and Osman and Yertsevan, when you're Turkish or you're Greek and you have a contract offered to you from a Greek club or a Turkish club or whatever, you're obviously going to take some of these things into consideration. So they signed with Panathinaikos knowing that it's a Greek team. So Ataman is of course, he's trying to just keep it neutral. He's trying to keep it Switzerland, which I also agree with. I think that's the best way to play. Keep it sports. Keep it sports. don't get involved with the politics because again, Panathinaikos doesn't really have to do anything with government, right? It's an athletic club. It's supposed to unite all of us together, and it's not supposed to cause a division. I love Ataman. I mean, he's done some great. He freaking won us the EuroLeague championship. He's brought some of these players with Dimitris Giannakopoulos. It's been positive. So it's like, let's focus on this. And if he had something to kind of say about the banner or try to take a neutral stance, you got to see it from his point of view as well. And I think it's just blown up too much, like you said.
Well said.
Yeah. And so there's that. Overall, we're going to start the Giannakopoulos tournament this weekend coming up, Saturday. That's always a fun time. We usually have the same teams. I think Fenerbahce is going to be there. I have to look at the rest of the lineup. It's usually Fenerbahce,
Partizan.
Partizan.
Partizan. I think it's FS.
Oh, FS. Okay, so it might be FS. We usually invite a Turkish team. We invite usually a Serbian team.
Yeah.
So it's good to have.
I think it's Fener, FS, and Partizan. Yeah, I think those are the three.
Yeah, so we've got so FS comes there. They've got the ties to Ataman, Partizan, of course. Obradovic is there. Ties to Panathinaikos. Fenerbahce, they just always come to our Giannakopoulos.
Ties to Slukas.
Slukas, I get. They're kind of just like our.
Oh, Itudis too.
Oh, Itudis. There we go. There's
there's
always some tie that we have with Fenerbahce that comes for some reason. I don't know. So that kind of makes sense. I'm just kind of like, all right, they're coming over. So yeah, we've got the Giannakopoulos tournament coming up. Season for EuroLeague starts October 7th, I believe it is. October 5th, the Greek Basketball League starts. I think it's that first week of October, EuroLeague and then Greek Basket League starts. So we're done with transfers. Ataman said it. Our general manager said it. We're done. I don't really think there's a need to add any more else.
No, right? Depth is good. Quality is good. We're good. Yeah.
Quality and depth is good. I think we're set there.
Do you want to give your too early predictions? I don't know if we're going to be on another pod before the season starts. So, do you want to give some predictions, season predictions? You could say no.
Yeah, I'll give predictions. For Greek Basketball League, I think we're gonna win again. Either one of, I don't think we're gonna win the league double. I think we're gonna win either the league or the cup. I'm hoping the league, because Olympiacos has a good team and they're gonna be pissed. So they're gonna try their best to try to like derail us as they always do. And then honestly, I think we can go back to back. I think we can go back to back in EuroLeague this year. I think that should be the expectation with the team that we have, with the signings we made, with our coach, what we did last year. I think we are the best team in Europe. Those are my predictions.
Okay.
What are you thinking? You don't want to give a prediction?
I hate predictions. I don't know. I've been wrong a lot recently. Ever since me and Chris got on that pregame space against, who was it, AEK in the playoffs, and I don't know, he said like 3-1 or something, and it was the inverse. It was 1-3. Yeah, I don't know, but I like your predictions. I think Final Four is locked. I think we get to the final, the EuroLeague final. I don't know what happens in the final because it's just a one game, and that's a shit show. Kind of worked in our favor this year because no one was beating Real Madrid in a series. So that's why I don't want to say win or loss in the final, but I think Final Four is a lock. I think good chance we get to the final. At that point, I don't know because it's just that one game. But yeah, and I think it's boring, but I think I'm gonna have to agree with you on the domestic 1-1, win one, probably lose one. I do think you're right. Olympiacos has gotten better themselves. If I had to guess, I would say that we'd win the league and they'll win the cup. I think we have very good depth, like we said. We have quality and depth, which I think over a league season is going to benefit us more. But I could see them snatching the cup from us just because of the more tournament format.
Yeah, I think that's 100% fair. And again, like the cup, or like the EuroLeague final. The cup is a one-off game in the final. So if they beat us,
Yeah.
I mean, they could beat it. But in the series, we showed last season that we are overall we're the better team. So I think that's solid, man. Do
Where
you
is
want
the
to?
EuroLeague final this season? Do we know? Has it been announced?
Oh, where it's gonna be?
Yeah, the final four. Was
I
it
think it's
Barca?
gonna
Did
be.
they say Barca?
Oh, is it Barca? I thought it was Barca or
I
Paris. I don't remember.
I have like a vague memory of Barca. I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know.
It may be. It may be. But I think it's one of those two. It's one of those two. It would be great if it's in Athens again, but maybe
Oh yeah,
maybe the
soon,
year after.
soon, hopefully.
Yeah, because I think with Oaxaca being like renovated,
Yeah.
they probably for sure use it. Seth, I think.
DPG was in talks. I think for 25, they were saying that he was in talks to get it in Athens at Oaxaca in 25, but
That
obviously that
makes
didn't happen. But now with Oaxaca renovated, like 26, 27, like you never know. It could be in the next 3 years. It could be right around the corner.
Yeah, because we've got Oaxaca. That would be the best. Seth, if they fix the air conditioning issues that they usually have, that would be cool to get them. You know, they could have like the semifinal team, whatever, play there. But that would be
And
cool.
it's our Exochico over there, so
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
It's
Make
all
sure if
good.
you go into Seth, you wear your flanela and you don't, you're wearing shorts and everything because the air conditions like
Yeah,
padopes because
yeah.
it gets pretty screwed up in there. But yeah, I think that would be good. Maybe they can get that renovated. But did you want to add anything else about the basketball before we kind of wrap things up?
I think we're good, man. Just Pablos Giannakopoulos is Saturday. Season around the corner, like you said. Panseraikos closed door Sunday. Yeah, I don't know. I think we covered it all. I don't know.
Nice, yeah, yeah. So that's basketball. I think pretty much wrapped up. If you guys aren't already, please give us a follow on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're also on the Spotify. We're on YouTube as well. And then Apple Podcasts as well. So we've got different areas that you can kind of connect with us. We also have our blogger site as well that you can access through the link tree on our bios. We usually have a lot of really nice, well-written pieces from a lot of different guys, from Alex, Nick, we've got Sturge, so many people writing. I'll be probably writing some more basketball pieces again this season. So be on the lookout for that. Other than that, thanks for listening to our podcast. It's been great having you guys listen to us and kind of discuss these topics. Next time we'll be back. Hopefully, it'll be the trifecta, the AAA, and we'll be able to get that going. But thanks again, you guys, for listening to us here.